I'm just going to start up with a quick poll. How many here are designers? So we got a few.
Nice.
We got a few.
Yeah.
And the second question, the rest of you, I suppose, are developers. How many of you think you have a great relationship and workflow with your designer? I would say...
Quite a lot of you.
I would say 50%, 45 maybe. All right. That's good. There's room for improvements.
Yeah. It's going to be a short talk then.
Yeah. All right. So we are...
We should stand like this, I guess.
Yeah, we do that. Perfect. So I'm Simon, and this is Marcus.
Yep.
He's a designer, and I'm a developer. And we co-founded Bowtie together, which is a small app studio thing in Stockholm. We are now 4 people, and we specialized in doing iOS apps, and we really liked working together in a previous working relationship.
Yep.
Yeah, and so that's kind of how Bowtie started out together. We really liked working together. I loved what Marcus thought up and designed.
Thank you.
And he, I hope, for once got to work with a developer that liked to get into details of designing and created a UI.
Yeah. Fairly true. Fairly true.
Fairly true.
Okay. So this talk is going to be about make and keep your fellow designer happy. And the designer in this case is me, I guess. So what does a designer actually do? One might wonder. I mean, some things that we do are like, we want to change the color on stuff, right? And then a few minutes later, we come up with a greater idea with a new color. And then we browse and dribble, trying to find new cool things. And we see, oh my lord, we need a gradient as well. That's even nicer, right? Looks super nice. But on the Friday demo, when we're supposed to show what we're doing,
Yep.
we also need to spice it up a bit more, so we might add like a mood image or something. So it looks super nice. And this is kind of how we imagine ourselves in like 30 years or so.
We haven't figured out who's who just yet,
Yeah.
but
Exactly. So I really love what I'm doing. I mean, as all of you, I guess, since you're here, love what we are doing together. And I'm sure that you all have had struggles within this thing where people comes with design and things like that, and we might be the worst people in the world sometimes because we're constantly changing things. But I get a task from a client, and that this task is often like full of different kind of limitations, right? It can be really weird limitations, and it can be bad APIs, but I've never heard anyone saying, okay, you have no limitations at all. We have like 40 hungry developers over there and the money is pouring in. You can do whatever you want. I've never like been in a project like that. And it's also probably really bad and weak specifications. What are we actually supposed to do, and why are we supposed to do it? So I'm trying to like figure out, and I might get a thing like, okay, so you need to create this thing, and it's supposed to look like Lego. I say, okay. Why? Okay. You should be able to eat it. Sounds weird, right? And it must be really organic and eco-friendly, because that's how we do things now. And it has to be like this big. And a specification where someone says it has to be this big might be hard to interpret what is actually this big. So I say, okay. And I cry on the inside a bit. And I do the working, and I'm starting to sketch out things. I'm throwing it away. And then I might find something that I actually like. It might be an icon. It might be a part of a component that I'm starting to enjoy. And then all of a sudden, things just seems to fall into place. Because as a designer, I never like start from the top left corner and work my way down to the bottom right. That's just not how it works. But after this long marathon of constantly creating and throwing stuff away, I might find something that actually looks good. Oh my God. it actually looks like Lego. You can eat it. It's fairly organic, kind of eco-friendly and all that jazz, and it has a size. It's large. The problem is then that I take this design and give it to, not you, Simon, of course,
No, not
but
me.
another developer that supposedly have a really good relationship with Apple. He has like 100 cakes on the App Store, right? And he has 1 million stars on GitHub. And then shit hits the fan, right? And yeah, it tastes good, he says. I wouldn't dare to try, right?
No.
But yes, I do love my job still. I do. But too many times developers say things like, don't look at the details. Don't look at them. But I have the problem with me that I can't like turn this off. It's not like a function where I can, okay, now I'm looking details. No, I'm not looking details. I don't care about this because I live from details. And too many times developers are saying to me, okay, can we sit down like all day tomorrow and you can point out all these details that are wrong? Yes, of course I can, but it's not like the most fun thing in the world, and it's actually not the way that we should have to do this. We should more focus on having fun when we're working together, not nitpicking on small different details that are wrong. So we're not actually saying talk less to each other, we're rather saying talk more. But focus on the fun parts. So this talk is not really about how to make the designer happy and keep, but even though I might be depressed sometimes, it's okay. It's all about getting the best and sexiest results between development and design, and just try to have a good sense of what we're actually accomplishing together. Because when all things come together, it's the collaboration between us two that's actually gets out to the clients or the consumers, because they will never see my pretty mock-ups, right?
Nope.
Sad face. It's also a lot about having fun together in the process and not having frustrations about really bad deliveries in between us. I mean, we've heard about developers getting AI files that the developers are supposed to dive into Illustrator to somewhere down there find a nice little asset. But I've never heard about a developer that loves to be inside Illustrator, nor have I heard about a developer that loves to get a static PNG mockup of something and then they're supposed to use the color picker here and there to try to find out what colors are in use here. Because it might be a gradient somewhere. It might not be gray. It might be black with alpha, for example. And also the fun things that the game that I call Guess the Font Size. And they say pixel perfect is a thing of the past. But I wouldn't say it is. I mean, now is the time to actually be really picky about the details, because the details nowadays are far different from how they were before. And I mean, the best result I have seen lays in great assets, great deliveries, and a productive and great teamwork. So just quickly jump into a crash course of how we think this should be done. Yeah. So this is a fairly simple view, right? It's basically a table view, a segmented controller, a map, a few labels, and something that might-ish look like a nav bar, if you're having open minds and stuff. So this should not be complicated. But I have seen simple views like this turn into the case of the cake. So Zeppelin, as we use, is sort of an interactive mock-up where you can find the recipe to create this awesome cake. And here you can find the ingredients and the specifications, how to do it fairly simple. And we've moved from an era where assets was the most boring thing that I could imagine, until now I actually kind of enjoy it. It's quite weird, but we don't have to like tile leather textures together or having weird background stretchable things for buttons anymore. We can focus on the opposite, like reusability, create things in code, and so forth. But when all comes down, Zeppelin is quite dumb. It's just, a lot of data. So we also need prototyping. And that is what I call the fun part. And these are the things that should be discussed. And that extra spice that gives can take this quite dull, boring cake view into an actually fancy-ass wedding cake. Maybe. So Simon asked me, what happens when you scroll up this view? Because it wasn't really fairly clear. But I created this quite super simple prototype thing on how it would work. And this is made in Framer. I don't really care about what program you use or whatever. You choose the one that suits you the best. But try the design, because this is fun. This is really fun. And you can make it come to life before you actually put it into real code. Because native code is fairly expensive, and I'm talking to the wrong crowd here, but it's quite hard, for me anyway. And prototyping is fairly rapid and fairly, in comparison, fairly cheap. So I also think that this is the way that we forward should present things to clients and stakeholders and product owners and so forth, rather than the static PNG mockups. And it's more fun to show as well. If you want good and valuable feedback on the things that you're creating, make it as close to the real deal as possible. And fake it until we actually can put it into production. But when we put it into production, we still can continue the rapid testing.
Yes, so this is a utility called Tweaks. It was developed by Facebook when they made the paper app. And it's a small utility framework which you can embed, and with for example, a shake gesture, you can get a config UI to your app where you can tweak different parameters within the app. It can be animation values, it can be colors, it can be font sizes, and so on. And this makes for extraordinary fast feedback loops. You can, for example, sit on the subway and tweak an animation on your way to work without the need for a computer whatsoever.
As I hope you do on your commute to work.
Yes. Exactly.
Yep. Perfect. Go on.
So let's now demo some of this stuff. So I get to do the demoing, which is the least prepared one, of course. So I'm gonna remove mirroring. Perfect. Go. So first I'm gonna bring up this view in Zeppelin, which we showed you on the GIF, I don't know, before. And as you can see, you can easily measure things. You can, on the right side, get the font size, the sizes, the contents, and padding margins and stuff like that. So it's basically a blueprint for it, and you don't have to have unnecessary conversations back and forth. And it's as a developer, you don't want to have unnecessary conversations, I suppose.
No.
But it makes the feedback loop, or like it makes it really, really easy, at least. What what Zeppelin can do as well is create kind of an asset sheet, and it's a way for Marcus or for another designer to create one artboard where all the assets and colors here are exported, and this makes it really easy for us to export them. So you can click on one asset here, and on the right side you can choose to export it either as a PDF if you're that kind of guy or girl, or a normal one which exports in PNG. This can export it directly into an asset catalog as well, and you get proper naming from which the designer chose as well. Another thing you can do here is let's see if I can find the correct view. Yeah, here we go. Is when you're developing this app and you really want pixel perfect results.
And you do.
Yeah, I really do. You can get a window with which you can change the alpha on to basically lay over your simulator and really try to compare the views. And you can turn it into a game.
Find the false pixel.
Yeah. All right. The last thing I want to show you guys is which computer I have. No.
Show off.
Is this app which we're playing around with here? It's not there just yet, but it's getting there. But when I scroll down, I want to focus on the top center area because I've created a fantastic animation there.
Oh yes.
No. All right. So let's shake the phone.
Can we see it again?
Again?
Yes.
No.
Oi. Yeah, it's really.
I think it's
aggressive.
It's aggressive.
Yes.
All right. So let's shake the phone. Shake. And this brings up this Tweaks UI, and I think this spring damping is kind of off. So let's crank it up. Dismiss it, and let's try again.
Better.
Better?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all right.
Well, we still have our differences, right? We're not perfect.
Perfect.
Back to the keynote. Hey, we still have some work to do here. So I'm fairly happy, one can say.
I think you should be happy.
When I created this keynote, I thought the animation would be great. But still, it's okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.